Hi everybody, it's Simon here from careermap.co.uk and welcome to day 4 of National Apprenticeship Week. Today we're joined by the team from Amazon who will be talking about their exciting degree level apprenticeships. Adam and the team will take you through the presentation shortly, but before they begin, if you look to the right of the screen, you'll see a chat facility. We are live, so ask any question at any time, and what we'll do, we'll try and run through as many of the questions as we can during the Q&A session at the end. So before we begin, Adam and the team, would you like to introduce yourselves and give us a bit of a background of your role within Amazon?
Sure, thank you, Simon. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. So yeah, first of all, so I'm Adam. I'll be leading the webinar today from our side. So I work in the apprenticeship team at Amazon. So I look at the attraction and recruitment of apprentices for all of our divisions across the UK. So it's essentially everything right up until day 1 on the apprenticeship program. So for those of you that apply, get through the assessment centre stage, you'll be seeing quite a lot of me throughout that process. So, but before I start the presentation, if I could just invite my colleagues just to turn their cameras and microphones on and introduce themselves. So Charles, Charlie and Ella, are you guys there? Brilliant. Okay, so right, maybe start with yourself, Ella. Just quickly introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Ella Cleary and I am a degree level apprentice at Amazon Web Services and I work as an account manager.
Thank you. Charles, next.
Yeah, absolutely. Morning everyone. My name is Charlie Tibbets. I'm currently a Step Up Senior Ops Manager working in customer fulfillment in Rugeley.
Brilliant, thank you. And then finally, Charlie.
Hi everyone, my name is Charlie. I am a software development engineer apprentice, also doing a degree level apprenticeship with Amazon. I work in Alexa.
Brilliant, thank you. And you'll be hearing more from these guys later when they talk a little bit more about apprenticeships from their perspective. So thank you all. If you turn your cameras and microphones back off now, and I'll see you shortly. Okay, so I wanted to start by talking a little bit about Amazon. Now, with Amazon in general, most people have heard of us. Most people have used our products and services in some way, so we don't really struggle with brand recognition. But one of the things that that people might not know about Amazon is just the scale of what we do and how we do it. So I'll come on to that, and I'll show you a bit more later about what we actually do at Amazon outside of what you might think we do. But this slide here, so right from on the left hand side there's a picture of Jeff Bezos. I think it's in his garage back in the early 90s when he launched Amazon.com as a online bookstore. Fast forward to today, and we're a company with, I think it's close to 1.3 million employees worldwide. On the right hand side, that picture there is our very fancy looking Spheres office, which is based in Seattle. Where our head office is based. So from kind of humble beginnings on the left to now one of the the largest companies in the world. So Amazon continues to grow day after day. We're introducing new products and services right across the board. A lot of it, and I'll come into this in a second, a lot of it's based on customer feedback, a lot of it's based on innovation. But it's a really great place to work if you are interested in working for a company that is constantly looking to improve things for customers. So how do we do it in a different way? How can we better what we do? So as you can see, from the left-hand side to where we are today, there's been huge growth over the last 20 odd years, and hopefully continue to do so. So what do we do then here at Amazon? So you might recognize some of these logos on the screen. You might think that we are an online shopping company, which particularly in the last couple of years when during the pandemic, when it was quite difficult to go out and get to the shops, a lot of people relied on Amazon for our kind of online delivery, but also as a tech company. A lot of people recognize Amazon as a technology company, so through AWS and cloud computing and things like that. But we are that, and we're a whole lot more. So some of these logos on the screen here you might recognize, but didn't realize were part of Amazon. So for example, Whole Foods, some of you may have used the Whole Foods stores. Amazon acquired Whole Foods a few years ago. And things like IMDb, the movie database, online movie database based out of Bristol. We've got Apprentices in SDE working there. Twitch, the kind of online streaming gaming platform. Ring, the doorbells that with all the cameras, that's based out of Cambridge. So yeah, we do an awful lot more than you might think. So everything, as you can see on the screen, everything from fashion. So if you want a career in fashion buying, you can do that at Amazon. But if you're more interested in robotics, you can see we've got Amazon Robotics. So we have apprentices working in our fulfillment centers that work on kind of maintaining the robots. So again, everything from fashion through to robots and a lot in between, we do that at Amazon. And then to, I guess, emphasize the point a bit more, you might not be able to see everything on the screen here. That's, I guess, kind of the point, is to show you again how much we do. This is by no means everything, but everything on this screen, as you can see, every logo on here is a different business that all falls under the kind of Amazon umbrella. And a lot of these were driven out of customer feedback. And some of them, a lot of them again, were driven out of innovation. So what we think customers wanted. So I'll give you a really quick example. So Amazon Go was launched. It's basically it's basically a physical store that you can go into and you can do your shopping and you can leave without having to queue up and pay. So that was launched on the basis of customers telling us that the worst part of the shopping experience was having to queue up and pay for your shopping at the end. So through innovation, through technology, Amazon has launched stores where you can go in, you can pick up the items off the shelf, put them in your bag, and you can simply walk out without paying. Because there's cameras and other technology all around the store that picks up what you've taken, and you simply scan an app on the way in, on the way out, and then you receive a notification on the app to say, we think you've taken all these items. Is that correct? You click yes, and it automatically then gets taken off your Amazon account. So that's just an idea of one business area that we've jumped on customer feedback and have innovated to make the experience as quick and as efficient as possible for the customer. So I guess the overall message here is Amazon is a great place to work if you want to have a multi-year career with a company and do completely different things. So the idea at Amazon is that you can move around all of these different business areas across a multi-year career, challenging yourself doing different things. You don't just get put in one business area and stay there for the rest of your career. So as I said, you can do robotics through to fashion, everything in between. So it really is a great place to work if you're interested in having a varied career. So obviously this is Jeff, founder of Amazon. And this slide is just introducing one of the founding principles of Amazon, which was customer obsession. So at Amazon, everything we do starts with the customer and works backwards. So I gave you the example of Amazon Go. That was customer feedback, which prompted us to innovate and solve not a problem, but improve the processes and the systems and experience for the customer. So pretty much everything we do at Amazon is based on the customer. We don't necessarily do it if it's right for Amazon. We do it if it's right for the customer, and then that in turn makes it right for Amazon. And that's one of the main drivers of the kind of growth and the success that Amazon has today is that customer obsession. So it's one of our leadership principles, and it's really important for everything we do. So so again, if you're somebody that kind of likes to think, to innovate, how can you do things better? Looking at a process that might be working really well, or sales might be good, customers might be happy, but we're always looking to think about how can we improve things? How can we make it better? That's customer obsession, and that's what we all do here at Amazon day to day. A little bit more about innovation. I mentioned the advanced shopping, so the Amazon Go platform, but whether it's been cloud computing or even Kindles. Kindles were launched what seems like quite a long time ago now, but at the time they're really innovative. Some of you may have had Kindles or may still have them, but again, we've got constantly every day business lines across Amazon looking at how can we do things better. Drone development, drone delivery is something which is being looked into at the moment. And again, that is to enhance and make things quicker for the customer in terms of getting the packages to your door. So not all of our innovation works. At Amazon, we tend to we try a lot of things that don't necessarily work, but those that do then means that the customer experience is constantly enhanced. So what we don't do at Amazon is you'll never see complacency in general across Amazon. So we'll never look at something and think that's done, that's working, we don't need to focus on that. Even if it's working, as I said before, you've got people thinking about how can we do it better, and that ensures you kind of remain at the forefront of the customer experience and technology, and you never get left behind. So again, that's one of the reasons for the Amazon success, is that innovation. So I guess at Amazon, you'll never get bored at Amazon, is what I'm trying to say. There is so much that we do and can do. It's a really exciting place if you like to develop new ideas, look at ways of implementing them. Amazon's really good at kind of support it. A little about our culture now. So I'll mention, so the leadership principles at Amazon, when you apply, if you end up working at Amazon, you will quickly realize that the leadership principles are ingrained in everything we do. They're not just fancy words that we put on the walls of our offices to sound good. They are ingrained in our recruitment processes, and day to day, all of our jobs at Amazon, we use these leadership principles to justify decisions, to challenge people. So I guess the best thing to do is just be aware of them. We will be testing you on some of them through the application process. We're not expecting you to know all of them line by line and what they mean and how we use them. But for some of them, and I'll come on to this in a minute, something like learn and be curious. So number 10 on the screen there, learn and be curious is the idea that no matter what role you're in, you will always look to learn how things are done and be curious about ways of making them better. So again, whether that's day one in the company or whether that's Andy Jassy, our CEO, you should always be learning, asking questions. Why is that done in that way? Can we do it differently? And that is what we are looking for when we come to learn and be curious. So particularly for apprenticeships, which are all about learning on the job, we will test you on learn and be curious throughout the application process. So again, these are really important. You'll be sat in a meeting at Amazon and people will refer to these leadership principles to justify a thought process or a decision, things like that. So certainly if you're going to apply, have a look at our website, read up on these, and just think about ways in which you might have demonstrated some of these in your past previous experience. A little bit, just before I move on to apprenticeships, a little bit about some of the kind of affinity groups that we have at Amazon. So Amazon is a really inclusive place to work. Diversity is at the forefront of everything we do. And again, I know a lot of companies say that, but it really is the case at Amazon. So we have on the screen here, you can see there's some internal networks that we have. So example, top left, Amazon, people with disabilities. We've got women at Amazon groups. We've got BEN, which is the Black Employee Network, women in engineering. These are just a small selection of some of the groups that we have across Amazon that are there to, we run lots of events, we have lots of speakers, and these are also there to support employees in their jobs. So as you can see, there's a quote on the screen there from Jeff, but it's, what we're basically saying is because we're such a big company and we're so diverse in what we do, we need people from different backgrounds to make sure that make sure that we can have that sort of different way of thinking, different approach, whatever it might be. So again, it's not just diversity in terms of ethnicity, gender, etc., but it's also diversity in terms of the way you think. So that is something that we really process. And if you join one of our apprenticeship programs, you'll see there's such a diverse range of people that join the programs. And that's one of the reasons why apprenticeships are so important at Amazon, because it brings sort of people from various different backgrounds into the business, which is really key for what we do. So now spend a bit of time on apprenticeship programs, particularly degree ones. But I will spend a couple of slides now talking about what an apprenticeship actually is. So an apprenticeship at very high level is essentially a combination of doing the day job for Amazon while also learning and working towards a professional academic qualification at the end of it. So we have, I think, between about 30 and 40 apprenticeship programs on offer in 2022. And you may have read in the news, we're hiring around about 1,500 apprentices across the UK this year. It's bigger than ever. We've got more options in terms of programs. So again, whether you're interested in engineering, technology, operations, or something more kind of sales, marketing, or creative, then we've got so many programs to choose from. An apprenticeship, there is a few kind of misunderstanding, misconceptions about what an apprenticeship actually is. So it's essentially a structured learning program that is executed partly at school, and when we say school, we mean college, university, and through the training provider, and partly on the job. So at a very high level, you will spend approximately 80% of your time doing the day job for Amazon, and around 20% of your time you'll be off the job in a learning capacity, kind of working towards the qualification. An apprenticeship is a really good way of you'll be learning the theory one day, and then the following day you'll return to your day job and you'll put it into practice that very next day. So it's very different than going to university, where you'll spend 3 or 4 years learning all the theory, but you don't actually get to put it into practice until you do an internship or when you graduate, which could be 3 or 4 years later. I know when I did a degree, I'd pretty much forgotten most of it by the time I got to the end of it. And then you hit the job market and you can't really remember what you learned 3 or 4 years ago. With an apprenticeship, you're in a classroom one day learning it, and the next day you're putting it into practice. So it's really relevant, and it's a really good way of learning on the job. You obtain a qualification at the end. So for the degree level programs, you obtain a degree, which is accredited by a university. So apprenticeships are also, they're not just for people out of college. That's another thing that a lot of people mistake for apprenticeships, is there for young people straight out of college. That's not the case. So apprenticeships are also for career changers. And we've got plenty of people across our apprenticeship programs who are in their 40s, in their 50s, that are using an apprenticeship to change the direction of their career and retrain. Again, lots of examples of people that have had, like a passion for engineering, who haven't got an engineering qualification to be able to do an engineering role, but who will do an apprenticeship, a higher or degree level apprenticeship, to gain that qualification and then move into an engineering role, for example. So at the moment, we've got about 1,000 apprentices across Amazon on program. I mentioned that we're going to hire about another 1,500 this year. So you can see the kind of the scaling up of the programs across Amazon. And that is mainly down to apprentices doing such a good job while they're on program. Word of mouth around the business. People work with our apprentices, they're impressed by them, and then they want to hire apprentices in their teams. So it's a really good time to join. Apprenticeship programs are really important to us across Amazon. And as you can see on the screen there, everything from kind of operations and engineering, which are mainly based in our fulfillment centers, so the warehouses and our delivery stations, but through to some kind of corporate and AWS roles, which are based in our kind of corporate headquarters, places like London and Manchester, Bristol, etc. We also, sorry, next slide. So this is a small selection of the degree level programs that we have on offer, and I'll talk through. I've got a slide on each one, which I'll whiz through quite quickly. But a degree apprenticeship, it basically is, as it says, right, it's a job combined with a university degree. So you'll be working at Amazon the majority of the time. You'll also be studying at university some of the time as well, working towards that degree. So these range from 36 months to 48 months, so 3 or 4 years. Again, the same as if you went to university and did a degree. On the whole, they're 3 or 4 year programs, the same as these. So across the length of these programs, you'll study various modules. There'll be various milestones that you'll hit. There'll be various kind of coursework and submissions that you have to make. Again, like if you're at university, in order to obtain that degree. Now, I guess one of the best things about doing a degree level apprenticeship is that you get paid while you're working, and Amazon fully funds the degree. So from your perspective, there's no financial commitment to get the degree, unlike if you went to university and incurred a lot of student debt across 3 or 4 years. So Amazon will pay for your degree and will pay you a very competitive wage while you're on the program. So at the end of 3 or 4 years, you come out of the program with a qualification, and you've made money across the 3 or 4 years rather than incurred all the student debt. And also, also just as importantly, you've also gained 3 or 4 years work experience on your CV. So versus a graduate that will come out of university with a couple of internships at the most, you'll have 3 or 4 years experience working at Amazon on your CV as well as your degree. So you'll be in a much better position potentially at the end than you would have if you went to university. So I might be biased given my role in promoting apprenticeships, but it's certainly a very attractive thing to consider if you want to get that degree, but also gain the work experience, and the financial side is very attractive as well. I'm not going to read through everything on these slides because I'll probably be here all day, but I did just want to give you an idea of some of the programs we have available. So the SDE program, it says 48 months on the screen there, but I think now for this year we are reducing that to 36. But either way, it'll be about 3 or 4 years for this program. And this, Charlie can tell you a bit more about this program shortly. But essentially, with this, if you've got a real interest in coding, an apprenticeship is a really good way to kind of develop that. So for this program, we're looking for people to have a kind of really like a fundamental understanding of how to code. We're not expecting you to be experts from day one, but we want you to understand how to write kind of basic code. That could be through doing a few online courses. That's typically enough because you'll then learn everything else on the job. But for this role, you will be working on kind of cutting edge technology. So all of these apprenticeships, you're not kind of sat in the corner working on a project which is irrelevant to the business. You're working on the same jobs as everybody else in the team. You're not considered an apprentice, you're considered part of the team, and you do all the other things, within reason, obviously. You do similar roles to everybody else in the team. So with this, you'll be working on, we've got SDE apprentices in Alexa, in Prime Video, in IMDb. So you'll be working on those platforms, and you'll see some of the work that you've done reflected in the Prime Video app if that's where you work and that's what you're working on. So as I say, at the end you get a degree, and the entry requirements listed there. So pretty much our entry requirements for an apprenticeship are the same as what it would be if you went to university. So there's certain A levels, etc. These entry requirements are not Amazon entry requirements. They're outlined by the Institute for Apprenticeships, which is essentially part of the government, and they will determine what the entry requirements are, not Amazon. So just be aware of them. You'll find them on the website. Every program we have is listed on the website with the entry requirements, and then when you apply in the job description, they'll all be listed there as well. Automation engineer. So this is an engineering program, and this is essentially working towards. So an automation engineer basically looks at all of the kind of the equipment around our warehouses and fulfillment centers. How can we make them more efficient? How can we automate it? So for this program, you spend the first year at a technical training center on a residential basis. So Amazon will put you up in accommodation, and you'll spend the entire first year at a training center, essentially learning how everything works. All different types of engineering. So it could be mechanical, electronic, and then the idea is that from years 2 and 3, you also spend some of your time at an Amazon fulfillment center, kind of putting everything into practice. And then year 4, you then complete a kind of work-based automation project, again, while also attending the university. The qualifications you'll gain, so essentially you get a degree in controls engineering, as well as HND, electrical electronics engineering as well. So it's a really good program if you're interested in engineering, because it touches all different parts of engineering as well. We also have finance. So this is a degree level. So essentially for this one, you'll gain an accountancy or taxation professional apprenticeship qualification, and you'll be working in our finance teams. And as you can imagine, finance teams at Amazon have a very important role. And so if you're interested in kind of finance, accountancy and taxation, then this is a really good program to consider. We've also got Chartered Management Degree Apprenticeship. This is mainly around, it's project based, it's operations, it's people based. These are available right across the country. And for this, you get a business management degree at the end of it, as well as being recognized as chartered manager status from the CMI, Chartered Manager Institute. So this is about like organizational success, operational success. How do we do things? How do we have an impact, but also doing things ethically, etc. So this is a really good program if you want to have kind of an overall view of the business and how it works, and be key to kind of making decisions. Creative design is another one. This is all about creating graphics, visuals for on-site and off-site and online campaigns. So for example, we have people in the EU Amazon fashion team. They're designing graphics, campaigns, digital design mock-ups, etc. So again, these are again frontline roles where there'll be live campaigns that you'll be creating the visuals for, and then for this you get a degree in creative digital design. And then I think I've just got one or two more left. So sales account management is another one. We've currently got apprentices in AWS working on account management. So essentially, it's kind of B2B sales, business to business sales. So you're essentially selling, for example, AWS products to other businesses. So selling the cloud computing and all the other, all the other offerings that they have. And you'll be working with the solutions architects and the software developers to then implement solutions for customers. And this, you get a business to business sales. So it is a sales role, also an account management role. So again, if you're interested in that, this is a good program. And I think finally, the last one I'll just quickly touch on is IT engineering. So again, if you're interested in IT, this is a good one for you. This is looking at things like network engineering, cloud solutions, cybersecurity. You can see them all listed on the screen there. But for here, you work towards professional degree in digital and technology solutions. So these are essentially everybody that ensures that the IT infrastructure at Amazon is working. And again, as you can imagine, that's really important for us to make sure that everything is running smoothly from that perspective. And then who are we looking for? So quite often get asked the question, what is an ideal apprenticeship candidate? The answer is we don't really have one. But what I will say is it's really important that you have to have a passion for learning new skills. Apprenticeship is all about learning. It's a desire and willingness to put in the hard work and make the most of the opportunity that you've got. You get a lot of support throughout the program, but essentially you're the only one that can do it and deliver. So you have to be passionate about learning, and you have to, it's all about starting a new career, starting a new direction, and learning along the way and gaining those qualifications. So I would say if you've got a real passion for learning and a real interest you're able to demonstrate in what you're applying for, that's a very good place to start from. So people that are passionate about learning and have a real interest in the role they've applied for generally do quite well on the program. Okay, so I'm going to stop for a moment and welcome my colleagues back to give you an overview of apprenticeships from their perspective. So Charles, are you available to come on camera, please? And then, just a couple of minutes about what apprenticeships mean to you from your perspective, please.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks, Adam. So I guess, again, just going through kind of some of the reasons why we like apprentices and why we want to hire them. Certainly from a hiring manager perspective, for us really, it's a pool of talent that we can get access to as early as possible and immerse in our workplace, in our leadership principles. So thinking about some of those leadership principles that Adam flashed on the screen a little bit earlier, we're really trying to immerse people in that kind of way of thinking as early as possible and get the benefit of blending that with the learning that you'd undertake. Again, we want to be able to hire and develop the best, which is one of our leadership principles, and having access to this talent pool is it's really another way for us to do that as early as possible and to get people on board. Certainly from my perspective, what apprentices do in our organization, so within customer fulfillment, there's a wide variety of roles. So leadership roles in process. We've got people who do business improvement techniques. So, they'll get experience of roles by doing jobs within the workplace, including indirect work and problem solving tasks to be able to improve what we do on site, and they have a direct impact into what we do. So again, I've got people at the minute who are doing things for us in terms of the world of business improvement that we will take on board. And as Adam said, they're very much a part of the team, and we really value what they bring. So that for us is really key and essential. But also, wide variety of other roles as well on site. So from IT, engineering, all kinds of other kind of apprentice bits as well, which I think Adam's covered there. So a wide variety of things, certainly within our business area. The value add for us really is that, again, which has been covered, is that learning on the job piece. So, people are exposed to that immersive environment where, their thinking is molded to our leadership principles and our ways of working. But at the same time, you're hopefully bringing back the best practice from wherever it is that you're learning from at the same time. So bringing some of that knowledge back into the business and being able to then use that as well. In terms of success stories as well, so we've got a variety of success stories, certainly within the building that I work in, from areas such as automation, IT, and also operations. So we've got high-flying apprentices that we've managed to fast track through our sort of process, and we've got them working on, again, a variety of things where they're very much a part of the team and part of our overall leadership structure on site as well. And that's something that I've seen personally at kind of every level that I've worked at as well. So really see the benefit of them as well. In terms of long-term benefits as well, really it's setting up for long-term success. So what hopefully you get out of it and we get out of it as well is we develop a well-rounded individual who really understands how to adapt their learning directly to the needs of the business, but also being able to learn those processes really gives, I think, people who've gone through the apprenticeship scheme an advantage to their immediate peer group who haven't at just about every level, because you're really exposed and immersed in that kind of area. In terms of just any kind of advice really for the application, for me, again, which has been touched on, I think, by Adam anyway, it's being keen to learn and being shown to be keen to learn and contribute and work hard for the success of the business and also for yourselves in terms of going through the process. And that's really, really key. And again, learning and being curious is key for me, but also as well, just that ownership and bias for action, which are other key kind of leadership principles for us, is being able to demonstrate that as much as possible in everything you do and really make sure that that comes across would be my my top piece there as well. And of course, anyone working with data, we are a data-driven organization. So, the better you are with things like Excel skills and the ability to handle large data, even if you're not in a direct role that's sort of, explicitly around large data, is always a plus, because again, certainly we are very much a data-driven business. And that's it from me, Adam. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And we'll see you back again for the Q&A later.
Thank you.
Okay, Ella.
Hi,
Welcome.
everyone.
I'll hand over to you.
So like I said before, I'm a degree level apprentice at Amazon Web Services, and I'm an account manager in my second year. So basically, day to day, obviously last year was my first year, I focused mainly on training and development. So I had to complete CPC, which is the Cloud Practitioner Certification, which is something everyone has to do here at AWS to have an understanding of the services we sell. As well as that, I had to complete a check ride, which is sort of an in-person customer meeting scenario, which is done internally with sort of managers and people in your team. And it basically assesses how you can, if you can sort of speak to customers. So that I learned a lot about presenting and sort of how to speak with our customers then. As well as that, I took ownership of team initiatives. So that was the newsletter. I also started a Twitch show called EdTech Hour. Essentially, over the pandemic, obviously, a lot of people got bored of webinars across our industry. So I was given the task of reaching people in a different way, and I utilised Twitch and the AWS channel to do that. So those are a couple of the projects I did in my first year. Now I'm in my second year, I've been given a bit more responsibility. So I have a portfolio of customers that I'm managing the accounts of. And essentially, I help them with their cloud journey and how they adopt AWS services. So key parts of my role are sort of building that relationship, really listening to them, and sort of coming up with ways to solve their problems. So that's sort of a day-to-day thing. Why I chose an apprenticeship. So I chose an apprenticeship because it offers so much experience that you wouldn't get normally at university. You obviously get to put into practice everything day to day in the role. There's so much support for you, and you actually get the time to train. A lot of people, when leaving university, are sort of dropped in the deep end straight out, and when they start a new job. But I think here at Amazon and across apprenticeships in general, you definitely have that support and you have the time to train. Like I just said, I had a year to just train and develop and learn and be curious, which is one of our leadership principles. So I think that was really key and one of the key reasons why I chose an apprenticeship. In terms of how I found out about apprenticeships, I actually knew someone who used to work here, and she suggested going on the Amazon careers website. So I went on that, and that's where I found it. In a past role of mine, I sort of dealt with the end-to-end sales cycle, and really realized there that I loved account management. So when I saw the apprenticeship for account management, it was sort of the perfect fit for me. In terms of how do I balance my time between university and day-to-day work? So university expects us to put 20% of our week into university work. So that's essentially 1 day a week. And you can split this across the week, or you can have one designated day. Last year, I sort of did it across the week. This year, I've got one designated day because the workload's increased quite a bit. But yeah, I think we had a really great workshop when we first started here about how to prioritize and be organized, and that's really helped. And I think just preparation is key for sort of managing your time and everything with that. In terms of how I expect the apprenticeship to help my career, I think just the experience I'm gaining day to day, every day is different. And I think there's a new challenge every day, which is really important and what I really wanted in a role as well. And I think all of that experience just at the end of this apprenticeship will just give me so much value in terms of either applying for new roles or staying on Amazon, which is what I'm going to do in an L4 role, hopefully. And then what advice would I give to you guys? So I think use individuality as your superpower. So grades are really important, but I think everything that you have to offer outside of that, whether that be extracurricular activities, volunteering, sports, music, if you have a day job at the weekend, definitely put all of those things on your application. I think all of those mean so much to Amazon because it shows who you are as a person. And I think they're really important. And I guess another piece of advice would be to make a LinkedIn profile. I don't think enough young people do this, and a really keen advocate for it. So I think that's another good tip to do for the application process and just in general when you're applying to other roles. And then last thing, anything to add, I think a lot of people tend to think an apprenticeship, you're working all the time, you'll miss out on that social aspect of university. You definitely don't. I joined with a cohort of 22 others, and we're all really great friends. We're all roughly the same age. We're between 18 to 26, I think, and we still get the chance to socialise after work and go out. So yeah, that's it from me, Adam. Hopefully that was all helpful.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, and then next we've got Charlie. So Charlie, are you there?
Hi, Adam.
Brilliant,
Yeah,
welcome. I'll hand over to you.
Great. Adam's giving me some bullet points, so I'll just go through those. So yeah, I introduced myself, but I'll do it again. So I'm a software engineer apprentice. I work in Alexa. Specifically, I work in a team that is responsible for a knowledge graph. A knowledge graph is a database, and this is a database that Alexa will use to answer questions. So within my team, I own small components, and this can include sort of ensuring the correct data is in the knowledge graph, working with other teams to reduce the costs of our systems, and also to increase the impact of the knowledge in the knowledge graph so that when customers ask a question, they get the correct answer. Why did I choose an apprenticeship? So I chose this because it's a good blend of learning on the job with a salary and qualifications. I was actually a career changer. So originally I was in the legal sector. And I kind of wanted to have the degree experience with the practical side mixed in. I feel like at university that's a bit overlooked. How did I find out about the apprenticeship? I found out on the government's apprenticeship website. I applied for lots of different roles in different organizations in software engineering. So check that out. It's definitely a good resource for finding more information on apprenticeships that you can apply for. How do I balance the time between the day job and the apprenticeship? So I'm pretty strict with my time management. Like Ella said, we get 20%. So that's kind of 1 day a week. I can use more time if I need it. The important thing there is just to be open and transparent with your manager and your team. I can also look to them for support if I'm struggling with something, sort of in the academic side. So I've got obviously my mentor in my team who's a bit more experienced than I am. I've got a manager and there's other apprentices. So we all kind of support each other when we need it. How do you expect the apprenticeship to help your career? So it's given me a skill I always wanted. I always wanted that hard engineering skill, but it's also given me skills I didn't know I wanted. So for example, writing is a really key part in Amazon. Obviously, more generally, communication, especially while we're working from home, things can be sort of hard to get across. So having to like focus on communication and like what's the best way to get this message to the audience. And finally, mentoring. I really enjoy kind of mentoring other apprentices and sort of people who I can mentor. I think that's a skill which I wasn't particularly aware that I wanted, but now that I'm doing it at Amazon, I'm really enjoying it. And working as an apprentice in Amazon just gives you great experience of working in a fast-moving workplace. I work with some of the best engineers in the world, so that's a real bonus for me. What advice would I give to potential applicants? I think for me, just get loads of interview practice in before you start going to the interviews. This helps you stay calm in the moment and kind of be the best version of yourself while you're kind of applying for jobs. And it really kind of going through those interview processes really makes you ask a lot of questions about what you want. And then when you come to apply for the apprenticeship at Amazon, you kind of got a good idea of what you want. And then the next step is how can Amazon help me get there? So then it's about aligning to the leadership principles. I think the customer obsession leadership principle is a really important one there. And finally, anything else I want to add? I've been at university just as a student, and I've been at university as an apprentice. I think the apprenticeship experience kind of outweighs the more traditional university experience in terms of just knowing what your career paths and options are and getting some actual practical experience. I originally trained as a lawyer and sort of finished my qualifications, got to the practical side of it and found out it wasn't really for me. I didn't really enjoy it. So took the career change with the apprenticeship and haven't looked back since. Really happy that I've done it. So I think that's everything from me. Back to you, Adam.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. See you in a couple of minutes for the Q&A. I've just got a couple more slides to go through, and then then we can take some of your questions. Very quickly, application assessment process. It does vary per program, but at a very high level, there's 3 stages. You apply online through our jobs page, share your CV. There's initial eligibility questions. If you're then eligible, you're invited to do the kind of online sort of test video questions part. So again, this will vary per program. Some of the programs you'll have an online test, like for example, the SDE program is a kind of entry-level coding test that we do that to kind of test your understanding and of kind of the fundamental concepts behind coding. For some of our engineering programs, there are some online tests that kind of, again, test your basic understanding of engineering concepts. But for some of the other programs as well, you may be asked to do video interview. And these will test your, or just you tell us about your kind of motivations for doing the program, your understanding of the program, things like that. Then the final stage is a virtual assessment center. We have been running these virtually last couple of years, probably will do the same this year, but it's usually a half day where you'll have exercises including group exercises, presentations, interviews. Some of the programs you'll have a practical task to do. Again, but this is at a high level. This is what you'll go through. If you make it to these various stages, ask us how they're going to work. We'll tell you all we can to help you prepare. But at a very high level, it's 3 stages to get onto the program. What I'm going to do now is play a very quick kind of 2-minute video that from some of our other apprentices. One thing to note about this, it was filmed a couple of years ago. It was before kind of COVID hit us. So you'll see, in some of the images were filmed before the pandemic. Just be aware of that. But also, it's still a very good video, even though it's a couple of years old. Some of our apprentices talking about why they chose to do an apprenticeship with us. So hopefully this will work. Let me just. There we go. So I'll play this now.
When I was 16, I originally wanted to be an engineer, but I didn't see any females in engineering. So I went into nursing, but this apprenticeship gives me the opportunity to go back and fulfill that dream.
So I studied digital film production, and then after finding very little in the way of work, to find something like an apprenticeship has been that kind of godsend in the way that, you get the guidance, but you also get the experience and you get paid for it.
I was a karate instructor. For me, the apprenticeship has the perfect balance of classroom and putting it into practice and reinforcing the learning.
You get to work firsthand very closely with other colleagues doing exactly the same thing as they do. You get to shadow, you get mentoring, you just learn so much out of it.
You get paid to learn, you get experience, you get a free degree, and then with this apprenticeship specifically, it will allow you to work anywhere in the world.
It builds confidence, it builds, your team building, your interaction, your communication skills. There's so many more aspects.
Within 3 months of this apprenticeship, I'd already learned more than what I had in 3 years of a university degree.
One of the great things about Amazon is that there are so many opportunities. It has been life-changing. It really is sort of seeing my way up the ladder now.
There's not one good path to a perfect education. You can go many different ways, and it's what you make of it.
Okay, so let me just bring the slides back up. Okay, so one thing I'll say about that video, none of it's scripted. For all of these things, we give speaking points that we'd like them to cover, but all of those points are kind of genuinely why they did an apprenticeship. So I think that's a really good video to show the reasons why somebody would do it, and particularly how it compares to like a university degree. So hopefully you found it useful. And just finally then, before we open up for questions, this is what happens next. So if you are interested in applying, we're open now. Vacancies went live at the beginning of this month. They will remain open until probably the middle of March. So you do have a bit of time, but what I would say is, just kind of do your preparation, get your application in within the next few weeks. And then, yes, we can see you in the application process. So we have a website, amazonapprenticeships.co.uk. There's more information there about our programs, entry requirements, a few videos. There's also resources on there for how to prepare for interviews, assessment centers, and things like that. So it's a good place to start, either now or later on in the process if you get to later stages. And also there's a website, an email address there, apprenticeships@amazon.com. This comes through to the team I work in, and we'll answer your questions that you have after today. So yeah, hopefully we've encouraged some of you to give it a go and apply. So I think on that note then, Simon, we'll open up for questions. So again, if I could ask all my colleagues to come back on camera and unmute themselves, please. And then, yeah, Simon, we're happy to take questions, please.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, everybody. Okay, so the first one comes from Leah. How does Amazon plan to expand on what you've already built?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think it's really hard, I think, for anybody to answer that question. And again, colleagues, please feel free if you want to add something to this. But I think, as I showed you earlier, that the scale of what we do at Amazon is so broad, and it's growing all the time. So whether that's through innovation or acquisitions, what we're offering is expanding all the time. So I think at a very high level, Amazon is a place, as I said before, that always looks to kind of disrupt things, do things differently, innovate, and then figure out how can we do it, that, again, always with the end user or the customer in mind. So we can't really say we're going to do this and we're going to do that, because I don't know enough about our wider business to comment on that, because again, we are so broad. But I think it's just safe to say that whatever we're working on, Amazon are always right ahead of the game, figuring out what's next. Like, we're obviously focusing on the now, but Amazon are always looking for what's next, what's the next big thing, how can we innovate, things like that. So I think innovation is the key, but I find it impossible to kind of say this is what we're going to do next.
Thanks, Adam. Josh says, sort of obviously thinking forward, what job role at Amazon will probably be the most in demand in the future?
Again, I think I'll probably give the similar answer to the last question. It's very hard to know what is going to be in demand in the future. I think obviously, technology is probably, only going to increase. So Amazon Web Services and our technology offering, but also, within our kind of customer fulfillment operations side, we are massively expanding again, because obviously the demand for our products and services is very high. And so on the infrastructure side, on the delivery side as well, there's huge growth right across the country. You might have seen that Amazon massively increased our workforce in the UK in the last year, and will continue to do so. So I don't think there's any part of Amazon that's on the decline. I think I'll put it that way. I think most of what we're doing is innovative and is the forefront of kind of customer expectations. So I think no matter what part of the business you end up in, there's going to be some growth there.
I mean, AI is quite an emerging technology. It's going to be sort of everywhere over the next sort of 10 years, isn't it? I mean, I know Charlie's working on the Alexa AI project, but is that sort of growing across the business, AI, at the moment?
I can chime in here because I'm an account manager, and one of our core services is AI and machine learning at Amazon Web Services. I work in the education technology team, and our customers are finding new ways to sort of engage students through AI and ML. So yeah, really growing at the moment, I would say.
One to watch then. Brilliant. James says, does Amazon have any projects working on sustainability for apprentices?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what I covered today was our degree level apprenticeships, but in particular, but we have so many programs, and one of those is CRS. So it's sustainability. It's corporate responsibility and sustainability, and so it's a huge part of our business. It's a growing part of our business. And yeah, for the first time this year, we are launching an apprenticeship program focusing specifically on that. So that is a huge industry, only going to get bigger in the next few years. So if somebody has a real interest in that, have a look at our sustainability apprenticeship, and even some of the other roles that we have, because I know that particularly the teams that we're working with, they are looking to hire apprentices as part of a wider expansion of their teams. So yes, huge part of our business. I
think as well, just to build on that, Adam, it's something that runs kind of through the core of everything we do. So even in a kind of building to building perspective, I've got a team of sustainability ambassadors for us on site. So even though we've got people who aren't necessarily specifically aligned in the building to sustainability for their apprenticeship, there's opportunities for them to effectively take and run an improvement project or something in that area, in that space specifically. So it's something that I think at every level kind of certainly runs through the core of what we are at the minute, certainly in our area of the business.
Thanks, everyone. A lot of questions, we get this asked a lot of times, but sort of progression after the apprenticeship finishes, are people guaranteed jobs, or do they have to go on and reapply? What's the sort of standard progression when the scheme finishes?
So I mean, essentially, while a permanent role is not guaranteed at the end of the apprenticeship from the start, it's very much the intention of the program is that everybody who successfully passes the program, obtains their qualification, then remains with Amazon permanently. So what we will do is around about kind of 3 to 6 months before the end of the program, we'll work with our apprentices and we'll work with our recruiters across the business and hiring managers to identify opportunities that you can move into. It would make no sense for Amazon as a business to to invest in apprentices, train them up for 3 or 4 years, and then not offer them the opportunity to stay and go and leave and work for somebody else. So that's very much the intention that we will work to find that suitable role. It also gives you, as an apprentice, a bit of flexibility at the end. You don't necessarily have to stay in your business line that you've been working in for the last 3 or 4 years. You can move and do something different. So it does give you options, but the apprenticeships are very much part of the talent pipeline into our permanent opportunities, alongside graduate programs we have, alongside kind of experience hiring from outside of Amazon. All of our talent acquisition teams are looking at apprenticeships as a pipeline into the roles that they have available. Some apprentices will stay in the same team, in the same role. Others will move business lines. So it gives you a bit of a few options, but it's absolutely the intention that everybody remains with us long term.
Thanks, guys. Saeed says, does Amazon plan on any cybersecurity apprenticeships?
Potentially, yes. I mean, we don't have any specifically focusing on that right now, but you can touch on it in some of the other. So I mentioned like the IT engineer program will touch on that. I don't know, Charlie, if that's something you touch on in your SDE apprenticeship or not, but it's certainly, we don't have one specifically focusing on that, but some programs do cover it in certain modules. Is that, Charlie, is that something that you cover, or?
Yeah, it is. We actually had a cybersecurity module recently, and obviously in the day job, you are dealing with systems which you want to protect from intrusion. So that's a big part of the job in some aspects, yeah.
Just to add to that as well, from like an account manager perspective, that's obviously really high priority and important topic for customers. So we have to learn about cybersecurity. At AWS, security is job zero. It's our highest priority. So this is something that we learn about as well and offer to our customers.
Okay, brilliant. Yaya's asked, could you sort of elaborate and explain how the assessment sort of interview stage works?
Yeah, so I think, as I mentioned, I think in the first stage, and Ella and Charlie, from your perspective, you might be able to chip in here as well, having been successful through the process. But I think for the online application, I think Ella touched on this earlier. Make sure you put on your CV some of the things that, you know, if we're looking at your CV, if you've applied for the SDE program, put on your CV things that when we look at it, we would then look for and go, okay, we understand now this person's interested in coding, etc., because we can see it on the CV. Then I think from the video interviews stage, that's all looking at your motivation, your passion for the role, your understanding of what you've applied to. So for that, there'll be questions, kind of, why have you applied for this program? What is your understanding of what you think you would do on the program? So we're looking for people to have a real passion for what they've applied to, but also a basic understanding of what they've applied to. So what I would say is don't apply for everything and take your chances and see how you get on. Be focused, apply for, you can apply for more than one program. But again, if somebody applied for fashion and robotics, we'd probably ask the question, why? So be focused, make sure in your video interviews and the online tests that your passion comes through. And then again, finally at the assessment center, you'll have group activities, you'll have individual activities, you'll be interviewed by potential hiring managers. So again, we're looking for people that are really passionate about what they've applied for, and can talk about experiences from their past, whether that be work or school or hobbies, of where you've demonstrated some of our leadership principles. So that's kind of really key, but the passion really needs to come through, because as somebody who's seen a lot of assessment centers, it really is the people that are really passionate about it that kind of shine right to the top. So I guess my key thing is, don't leave anybody in any doubt about how much you want the opportunity. If you get the opportunity to video interview or talk to a hiring manager, make sure your passion comes through. I don't know, Charlie and Ella, if you want to add anything else to that, or from your perspective of being through the process.
I would just echo all of that and make sure, like Adam said, just focus on the leadership principles. I think they're the bread and butter here. We talk about them every single day. So if you can show that you have sort of performed them, then yeah, that's key.
All right, guys. Well, looks like we're running out of time, unfortunately. Adam, did you want to leave any sort of last words with the guys today?
I think my kind of overriding message with all of this is don't think about reasons why you can't do it. Think about reasons why you should give it a try. So many people think, I don't have the background, I don't have the qualifications, Amazon wouldn't take me, there'll be better candidates out there. I'd say put all of that aside, have confidence in yourself and just give it a shot. Because there's so many apprentices who we hire who had doubts to start with, who are unsure about what they're doing. But an apprenticeship is all about learning. We're not expecting you to be an expert from day one, know everything from day one. If you did, you wouldn't be eligible. So we are looking for people just to come in, appetite for learning. So I guess just give it a shot. You've got nothing to lose. Be passionate about it. Put your preparation in. And as I said, don't look for reasons why you can't do it. Just do it. That's what I'd say. Don't know if anyone else wants to add anything or not, but yeah, that's what I think.
Okay. Anyone else, or before we go?
I just like to echo that, really. I think, personally speaking, I didn't have any professional experience in software development. I did a few courses online because I was interested in it. And yeah, like I'm here now kind of a couple years later, still doing it, really enjoying it, developing myself. So yeah, if, like Adam said, just if you're passionate about it and you're motivated for it, just go for it. What's the worst that can happen?
Absolutely. Ella, did you want to say anything?
I was just going to repeat what I said last time. Use individuality as your superpower. I think there are a lot of skills that you learn day to day outside school that you might not think are relevant, but say you're standing on the street handing out flyers for 7 hours a day as a job, like that shows resilience. It shows sales because you're trying to sell to people and talk to people. So yeah, I just think outside the box in terms of the other activities you do. I think that's really key.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. Yeah, just a big thank you to Charlie, Adam, Charles and Ella for today's presentation. Really informative. And a big thank you to Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg for joining today. A funny crowd in today. We've got loads more events for the rest of National Apprenticeship Week coming up. So head over to the website to have a look there. And just so this session's recorded, we'll put it on the on-demand section of the website later in the week as well. And yeah, thanks for coming today, and we'll sign off now.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.